As I get older, I'm starting to notice that fewer and fewer video games are able to invoke any reaction or feeling out of me. Don't get me wrong, I loved and still love video games, but I remember as a teenager, I would get a rush of excitement watching the final cutscene from God of War 2 for the 30th time, get tilted whenever I lose in Tekken, or the haunting feeling of dread I got playing Silent Hill. Now, of course, life moves on and tend to up the challenge in every stage, with more responsibilities, more stress, less time, more griefs, and much more experiences, good or bad. It's bound to lose some connection with the fairy world of video games. But that's half the case for me. Other half is, it's always been hard for me to feel truly happy. A couple of the few times I remember feeling pure happiness was once when I was 6 years old, and my mom had dropped by my school to give me some minced meat during break. Just the excitement I felt when she came out of nowhere and surprised me was something I'll never forget. Second time was when my dad bought me the PS2 when I was 11, along with a TV that I waited for him to go by while I was in a car for about an hour. That felt like an entire day while obsessing over the PS2 box. It's not that I don't ever feel happy, rather I would say the happiness fades away quickly and I'm left with this empty feeling where nothing makes sense. What I'm trying to get at is, although I love video games, I rarely enjoy experiencing them anymore. A few years ago, while I was still in college, one day I had my best friend coming over to my house where we was just talking about normal conversations about life and how it's going, where he mentioned that another friend of ours had him playing an insanely difficult game called Dark Souls, where you had to kill two bosses at once, and talked about how their design and mechanics felt very satisfying to overcome. For me, I remember seeing Dark Souls before and watched a couple of Game Ranks videos before where it got mentioned, but I wasn't interested in the slightest, to say the least. Anyways, at the end of our conversation, he told me to drop by his house the next week where our other friend is coming over, the one who introduced him to Dark Souls. So the following week I've headed over to a game shop, bought a copy, and after going to my friend's house the following week where they hyped the game out, I was sold on it. And so the journey began. When it comes to Dark Souls, people rarely, if ever, go through the same experience. One of the main reasons is the silent protagonist that each player creates, almost as an empty vessel to pour yourself into. And I'm not talking about the mainstream game critics' perspective where you actually feel like Batman. But no, instead I'm talking about there is no connection between the player and the character you play, because in some sense it's an extension of you. Every feeling of sorrow or happiness is manifested in the game's world, where every loss, win, or interaction feels like it's your undoing, with no emergent breaking lines like,
"I think I should check that cave,"
every time you pass one. No, it's only me. More than a dozen of thoughts going back and forth in my mind, ranging from financial issues, family matters, loneliness, being unsure, being insecure, to failed attempts and lost love, all being temporarily put to rest in the favor of, what is that town down there? Why am I scratching my head and now I turned into an egg? Or why my health bar is cut in half? With so many intriguing mysteries that blends in a world full of contrast, both literal and metaphorical. It gets dark and creepy, euphoric and embracive, lonely and hopeless, mysterious and intriguing. It's all these emotions and adjectives that make a journey. Experiencing them differently with each individual is what makes life a journey, all being compacted in a digital world, the true meaning of escapism. With Dark Souls, I feel like the game never ends. I mean, sure, there is a final boss that when you finish the game, it technically ends, but I've never felt like I've truly beaten it. Maybe with the first couple of playthroughs I had some sort of fulfillment, but after those couple of runs, the ending areas start to feel the same as the beginning ones mentally. And after 1,000 hours in, all the lines of progression gets erased, where the whole game feels like a sanctuary, with every area or event in the game is connected to a moment in my life, a feeling I once had while going through a specific level or an encounter. Some moments are difficult for me to reminisce, while others remind me of fun days with now faded friendships. But what really hits home for me is with all of this past time in life, where I've been through trials and tribulations, combined with just growing up as a person, where I've changed a lot since I first started playing the game. The game never did change. It's not like one day I'll open it and suddenly there is a new area to explore, a new boss to fight, or a new NPC to talk to, you know? I guess what I'm trying to say is, the game has been vastly imprinted in my past, a past that I've moved on from. Yet the game never moved on, where it became hard for me to play it anymore. Not because I don't enjoy it, but for the fact that the game always sends me back to a long past and forgotten chapter of my life. And yet, I still can't help but to visit the game from time to time when I'm feeling lonely and trying to find some solace in these memories. It's weird because the medieval setting with sorcerers and knights wasn't really my cup of tea, but with Dark Souls it was way more than a setting. It was the world, the characters, the fights, where every time I looked for a mystery, it was there, one way or another, which made me look at a lot of different entertainment mediums differently. I would look for different aspects in other games where before I would put the game down after 20 minutes. I've become more open to new ideas. I started playing games that I wasn't interested in that much before and finding out how much I was missing. Games like Silent Hill, The Witcher, and many more. The idea of disliking something at first for it to turn into your favorite had opened the door for way more diversity in digital and IRL choices. Days pass by and life moves on, where all these memories will be lost in time. It won't matter if no one saw this video. This is more personal. It's me ending a chapter I've been afraid to end for a long time. Maybe one day I'll be able to fire up Dark Souls and reminisce a time I wouldn't rather be in, and instead just taking in the memories of a forgotten past and appreciate them for what they are. It's hard to move on, but sometimes you have to leave something precious behind to be able to embrace the present.